fossils that I find, the most difficult ones for me to identify are fossil tracks. It's easy to identify a fossil tree bark or calamite or plants, but there are many types of tracks which are just really difficult to identify. This video is about a concretion that I found and the tracks that are in it. And before you is a sample of concretions that I found this past summer of 2012 here in Saginaw, Michigan. These three here are limestone concretions. The Indians used to collect these and they would break them open to get raw flint, chert, for the production of arrowheads and various stone tools. These concretions are all from shale deposits, the shale being here from the Carboniferous period, and I've not broken any of these open, and I won't, because the reason you would break them open is because many concretions have fossils inside of them. I don't want to destroy the concretion itself, and I'm afraid that I would if I tried to break any of these open. However, one in particular that I found this past summer this one was already broken open naturally by the action of nature. And it's very difficult to photograph what I want to show you on here. There are two small tracks on here. I will get into what they may or may not be a little bit further on. It's very difficult to see them, though, as I said, or to get a good close-up of them. But down here are, let me turn this around. I'm sorry, I had it the wrong way. Down here is a straight line, two lines coming off from it, and a very light fourth line making a footprint. So there's another here. And again, I wish I could get a good close-up of this, and I will try to when I do the still pictures in just a moment. This is the subject of this video, and I'll get into the audio and slideshow portion of it right now. This is another installment in my Fascinating Fossils series about fossils that I've found here in Saginaw, Michigan. This one titled Ancient Footprints from Saginaw, Michigan. To me, the most difficult fossils to identify are those fossil tracks or footprints. You can easily identify tree bark fossils or calamites or ferns and such, but tracks are quite different. I've been collecting fossil shale from Saginaw, Michigan for a little over 10 years now, and they are always indeed fascinating and very interesting to find. There's always something unique and exciting to discover. Well, the summer of 2013 allowed me to recover some truly interesting specimens hailing from the Carboniferous era. In age, according to science, these could date back as many as 310 million years ago. I may offend some with this, but oh well. I very firmly believe in creation. Everything was intelligently designed by the greatest scientific mind that's ever been or ever will be, and that is the God of the Bible. Common finds here in Saginaw, as you'll have seen in some of my previous videos, include specimens of the lepidodendron and sigillella trees, calamite fossils, and various seed pods. Less common are insect specimens, and ultra rare are animal track specimens from this era in Michigan. The subject of this video would be considered very, very rare. While collecting shale specimens in Saginaw during the summer of 2013, I came upon a concretion which had been split open by nature with natural weathering processes. Let me first show you some concretions. They'll flash across here as I'm talking to you. And I'll tell you a little bit about concretions while you're looking at those. A concretion is a hard, compact mass of sedimentary rock formed by the precipitation of minerals cemented within the spaces between the sediment grains. It sounds complicated, but it's really not if you reason it out. Concretions vary greatly in shape, as can be seen from these specimens I'm showing you. Concretions form within layers of sedimentary strata that have already been deposited. They usually form in the early burial history of the sediment before the rest of the sediment is hardened into rock. The concretionary cement often makes the concretion much harder and more resistant to weathering than the host stratum. Oftentimes, the concretion forms around some type of nucleus, thus often when they are opened, a very fine fossil impression is found inside. The concretion here, which is the subject of this video, as I said, was formed in Carboniferous shale, but is much, much harder than the shale that it occurred in. This is a fairly small specimen, measuring 3 inches long by 1.5 inches and 3/4 inches thick. It is common in every regard except for what it contains, and that is 2 small tracks or footprints which measure about 1.25 inches long and are rather angled on the stone. Vertebrate fossils of this area in Michigan are hardly ever found, and so it is next to impossible to ascertain what ancient creature walked across the mud flats that would one day be Michigan and left these prints in his wake. It is safe to assume, however, that this would probably have been an amphibian, as this is the era they are said to have first appeared on the scene in. There were quite a few amphibians on the scene, but I cannot say for certain, nor can anyone else, that any of these tracks are not responsible for these tracks. It could easily be a species that we totally are unaware of, or is still unknown to us, be only known from the tracks. And two, I can't say for 100% certainty that it was an amphibian. They also have a shape very similar to a bird track, or bird footprint, but birds were definitely not common according to science in the Carboniferous era. Of course, I believe everything was created in the 7 days, and so everything was created in perfection. So during the Carboniferous era, everything already existed: the dinosaurs, the birds, the mammals, and the pinnacle of God's creation, man. The size, though, of insects and trees and animals is really phenomenal during the Carboniferous. They grew to large size, and they had an extended lifespan. And this is likely due to the major differences in the atmosphere from today. The growth of huge forests removed huge amounts of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, leading to a surplus of oxygen. Atmospheric oxygen levels are known to have peaked at around 35% during the Carboniferous, compared with about 21% today. It likely then not only explains the giant sizes of some of the species that inhabited the world then, but it also helps to explain the long lifetimes that we're told of in the Bible. Remember, man lived in excess of 900 years. But that's hard for some people to accept, and I understand that. But to understand that, I'm going to deviate a little bit here from the subject of this fossil, because I really told you as much as I can from it. I wanted to show it to you. It's a unique specimen. It's a rare specimen, and I just wanted to lay it out there for you all to see. But let's talk a little bit about what the Earth was like during what is called the Carboniferous period. This was, of course, pre-flood, pre-Noah's flood. I'll not debate the age of the Earth here. We all know what science says, and that the Earth is millions and millions and millions of years old. And while most creationists say that it's 6,000 years, I myself really don't know. But since my salvation depends on the blood of the Lord Jesus and not on how old the Earth is, I don't really worry a whole lot about that aspect of things. However, my belief in the history of life here differs a lot from science, because I believe all of nature, including these small tracks that I've shown you, proclaim the glory of God, the creator and most amazing scientific mind ever to be or ever will be. And I also believe firmly in the global flood, as I've already stated, just exactly as it's stated in the Bible. The book of Genesis indicates very early on that in the beginning rain did not fall on the planet Earth. Rather, everything was watered by a mist that came up from the ground. So a natural question would be, where was all the water that we see around us on our planet today back in the pre-flood times? It formed a canopy above the Earth, which provided a greenhouse-type effect to the Earth. It also filtered out much of the harmful radiation, which accelerates the process of aging today. This explains the higher oxygen level that I spoke of a bit ago. When the flood happened, that great water canopy collapsed, as well as all the water under the earth being unloosed, and after that everything changed in every way imaginable. You see, this is why people were so excited back then about the rainbow, which we take so much for granted today. One had never seen a rainbow prior to the flood because it had never rained. Atmospheric conditions weren't right. And God did indeed put that bow in the sky to promise that the world would never be destroyed again in totality by water. This is a kind of simplistic explanation, but when the canopy theory is looked at in depth, it explains so much that really is a mystery in science yet today. So briefly, that's what I wanted to tell you. As I said, I just wanted to lay this fossil out here for you to see. I hope you enjoyed looking at it as I enjoyed sharing this find from Saginaw, Michigan with you. I might also add about the fossil that the shale in Saginaw, most of it which is on the ground, came to the surface during coal mining operations here in the 1880s, 90s, and early 1900s. Coal mining was a very booming business here, and they had to go through layers of shale to bring up the coal, and the shale was, just laid aside in mounds. The shale here varies in color a lot, from a very pretty salmon color to dark gray to light gray to black, and so that's how the shale here came to the surface in the first place. And I imagine beneath the feet of where I'm living right here, right now in Saginaw, are the remains of vast forests that at one time called this area home during the Carboniferous period.